It is 6:30, Thursday, March 16th, 2023. We are now calling the meeting of the Historic Town of Eatonville Community Redevelopment Agency to order. Ms. King. Ms. Bonds, would you do a roll call?
Sure, Mayor. Director Randolph? Director Clinton?
Perfect.
Director Henderson? Director M. Daniels? Director Washington?
Present.
Vice Chair R. Daniels? Chair Gardner?
Here. Please stand for a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Do we have anyone to speak?
No, ma'am, I don't have anyone.
Okay. We do have a presentation, and I'll let you introduce yourself and why you're here. Now, yes.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Attorney Shannon Thomas.
Could you make sure that's on and that you're speaking to the mic, please?
There we go. Good evening, everyone. My name is Attorney Shannon Thomas. I'm here on behalf of the family of Mr. Tommy Dixon. Mr. Tommy Dixon is recently deceased. He previously owned property located at 225 West Kennedy Boulevard here in Orlando, Florida. And that property was conveyed at some point to the town of Eatonville. And I'm here on behalf of the family to request that that property be conveyed back to the estate of Mr. Tommy Dixon so that that property can be probated and distributed to the heirs of Mr. Tommy Dixon. That was good. Thank you.
Attorney, you have a card?
Is there anyone else? No.
No.
Next item on the agenda is the consent agenda for the meeting minutes from February 16th, January 19th of 2023, and the approval of the TOCRA fiscal year 23 rebate calculation. Is there a motion? It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Second. It's been moved and second. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? We have approved the consent agenda with unanimous vote. Next item on the agenda is the board discussion for the TOCRA financials for February 2023. Are there any questions with the information you've been given? Or is there anything that you want to share with the board, Ms. Bonds?
No, I hope the document that you received this afternoon answered questions that I know Director Randolph had last month, and some directors had about the actual operating expenses and accounts for the TOCRA. And this document also adds in what we owe the town. So if there are any questions, I'm here to answer them.
Are there any questions? All right, seeing that there are no questions, next item is to discuss the funding for the 2024 Zor Festival. Ms. N1 is here.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members, members of the Town of Eatonville Community Redevelopment Agency, and those in the audience. I'm here on behalf of the Association to Preserve the Eatonville Community, And I'm here asking that the Eatonville Community Redevelopment Agency resume its precedent of funding the Zora Festival because festival actually does advance the mission of the ECRA. This is a presentation that was recommended be made at this time, as opposed to trying to secure funding for the smaller footprint of the 2023 festival. Before I go through, I do need to identify that we have transitioned festival into a season for probably 32 years. Festival all took place only in the month of January. We found that that really was a difficult proposition, particularly as we received funding from Orange County Arts and Cultural Affairs, and there is an attendance requirement with that funding, in addition to a cash match requirement. And so what we did was to, instead of asking for the large category, we thought it more strategic to apply for the smaller category, for the medium category, and to spread our event through a season. In other words, that very intense January, but to also do an Africa America Women's Economic Forum in March, and at the end of the year, October, to do what has been a very popular program, the Hatitude Cultural Flair. And so you will advance for me, thank you, the next slide. Then you see here that the funding that we receive from Orange County requires a cash match. And so what we are here this evening to do is to make the presentation, answer questions, and hopefully receive a positive decision in terms of dollars. Again, we're asking ECRA for leverage dollars on behalf of the 2024 County Tourist Development Tax Grant application. We will have to submit that grant in June of this year. So let's advance the slide, please. The mission statement. So many people associate PEC only with the Zora Festival, but our mission is to promote Eatonville, Florida's considerable heritage, historical, and cultural resources as a means for the community's revitalization and economic development, and via programming which promotes pride of heritage, educational excellence, and the cultural arts, will preserve and protect the community for posterity. Our vision is to make Eatonville an internationally recognized cultural tourism destination for the arts and culture throughout the Africa diaspora, that means wherever people of African ancestry live, with special emphasis on the multidisciplines as represented by the life and work of Zora Neale Hurston. We work in 3 areas. We've been working in these 3 areas since our inception because they are core. Pride of heritage, year-round cultural heritage tours featuring Zora's Eatonville, special presentations on the history and heritage of Eatonville, virtual programming such as Gathering and Gabbing, Zora Neale Hurston Book Club, and what we have found with that virtual presence is that we literally have people all over the country and sometimes outside of the country. In terms of educational excellence, Excellence Without Excuse Community Computer Arts Lab and Learning Center is a year-round after-school and summer program designed to provide academic support to K-12 students, was first established in 1997. And in terms of the cultural arts, the Zora Neale Hurston National Museum of Fine Arts, established July 1990, and the annual Zora Neale Hurston Festival of the Arts began planning January 1988. First festival presented January 25 to 28, 1990. So let's talk about how the Orange County Tourist Development Tax Grant Program works. Major elements are the matching funds and the attendance thresholds. A little bit of background to why Orange County actually developed this program. Back in 2000, actually probably 1999, the commissioners began to look at the fact that Orange County was really making what they considered as a substantial investment in arts and culture, but it was fragmented. Something to Orlando Museum of Art, something to Manello, something to this, something to that. And so what they did was to, and this was under then Mayor Mel Martinez's administration, they identified a task force to actually look at what was available in Orange County and the kind of dollars. And each commissioner had the ability to appoint a representative. Commissioner Bob Sindler, who then represented District 2, appointed me. And it was very interesting because I was the only member of the entire arts and cultural community that was actually appointed. All the other people were like Mr. Harris Rosen and the Dean of the University of Central Florida and all these different people. And that's in part because my colleagues in arts and culture, the mainstream, mostly got their money and continue to get their money from private sources. So they weren't interested in government money. They didn't understand the impact of government money. So after the program, after the task force presented its findings, there was established an art and culture advisory council, a whole, what would you say, administration that oversaw arts and culture in Orange County. And the first applications were for 2000. And PEC was the first organization to apply and receive funding. After 2000, everybody else came in because they understood what those dollars could mean in terms of leverage. But the requirement, because it is taxpayer funding, is that you have to bring a cash match. And so if you apply for the large category, you have to bring, at the time of the application, written documentation of 100% cash match. 100% cash match. And you have to be prepared to meet the attendance requirements of a minimum of 30,000. This is also interesting because in the 90s, and for those of you who remember what some people call the glory days of festival, we had 30, 40, 50,000 people coming here. And so, and we were far, far, far ahead of anybody else's attendance data. So we set the mark. And now, in order to apply for the large money, it is 30,000. To receive a cash grant from the medium category, which is where we have been strategically, the applicant has to bring, at the time of the application, written documentation of 75% cash match and 25% in kind. In other words, that really allows you with a little bit more flexibility in terms of the dollar amount, and you have to be able to satisfy 20,000 attendees. The deadline for proof of documentation for us, in order to be able to meet the requirements of the application, will be June 15, 2023. We will need to have that written documentation. I should say that that public money, particularly at the county level, is a very, how should I say, very, very thorough, very specific. All of your records have to be in place. They hold the last 10% of your dollars until you have satisfactorily produced that report. And I'm pleased to say that each and every time that we have produced a report since 2000, that report has been accepted without any problem. All right? So for 2024, which will be our signature season, our 35th anniversary as a festival event, and I also want to say for the record that the Zora Festival is America's, I want to repeat, it is the United States of America's longest running arts and humanities festival celebrating the cultural contributions of people of African ancestry. That is actually who we are. Okay? So our 35th anniversary, we would propose to the town of Eatonville, I'm sorry, that we want to actually bring, did I go one forward, Ms. Barnes? Yes, the next, yes. We want to bring the world to Eatonville. We want to bring the world to Eatonville. So during the 2024 Zora Festival season, PEC is actually proposing to the town that we collaborate with the town's 2024 Founders Day celebration as a formal part of the Zora Festival season. So what is it that we actually represent? Well, if you advance, go, yes, again. What is it that in the world of hospitality, if you will go one more slide forward or backward? Oh. Thank you. In the world of hospitality, and here I'm really speaking in terms of what is accepted data, there is a niche. First of all, hospitality, travel and tourism is within the top 5, the top 5 categories in terms of commerce in the world. And in the world and in the United States, there's a growing recognition of what's called cultural heritage tourism. This is across the board. The data says that a cultural heritage tourist is going to stay a half a day longer, is going to be willing to come back to that destination, and in fact is going to spend more money than the tourist that goes, say, to Walt Disney World or the attractions. I'm using those as an example of what we're talking about. And why is that? Because the data shows that a tourist going to the attractions may go 5 times, 10 times, 11 times, but at a point, that tourist is not going to come back because all the attractions have exhausted themselves. And that's why every once in a while you see that the attractions are doing a major piece because they recognize that. So within the cultural heritage tourism, there is a sub-niche, and that sub-niche for us is African American cultural heritage tourism. And the data shows that in that niche, our people spend more money, because there really is a hunger to know about our history and culture. And we have actually had studies done on Zora Festival through the UCF Rosen College of Hospitality Management, and we know who comes. That is generally a woman. 60% of our visitorship is at festival time is women who are managers, have education in terms of their college, and they represent a spending niche. They represent a spending niche. And typically our dollars, for every dollar that the county invests in us, we return $4 or $5. So, and this is all work that has been done. The most recent work was in the mid-2000s. But it really is, for the county, it's about heads and beds. It's about heads and beds. In other words, people who come from outside of Orange, Seminole, Osceola, and Lake County, and who will stay overnight. So the African American cultural heritage tourism actually can mean economic prosperity for Eatonville today and in the future. And so that next slide and last slide is, we're proposing that in terms of what the mission of the Eatonville Community Redevelopment Agency, that we really look at what we call the Eatonville Renaissance. And that's a 10-year initiative to revitalize and bring economic prosperity to Zora Hurston's historic town. Thank you for the opportunity, and I will be pleased to take questions. You will notice that I did not specify a dollar amount. I did not do that because I wanted to really have us talk about what that means. Previously, the ECRA has invested a $25,000 investment in Zora Festival. But as I say, I just thought it would be better. This is a new configuration to talk through with you all, answer questions, and see where we are.
Do you have any other questions?
You mentioned $25,000 from who?
From this agency, previously. Previously, yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now I have a couple of questions. On this form here, the large scale,
Yes.
do they have an amount?
Oh, yes, indeed. Yes.
And what is that amount?
You have to bring cash match of $155,000.
$155,000.
Yes, ma'am.
PEC.
Yes, if we were to
Bring
apply,
that.
if we to apply for
And then what on a minimum category?
for the moderate medium, 80,000.
80,000. Okay. Now realistically, where do you think that you fit in? Because on these minimum for attendance and population requirements, it says 30,000 for the large and 20,000 for the medium. I really haven't seen those numbers in long time.
And that, in fact,
So how would you justify the minimum for each of these categories when they have not even been half of that in the last at least so many years?
I would say probably in the last 5 years. In the last
Okay.
5 years. And one of the reasons that we actually went to the medium as opposed to the large, and why we went to a season, was so that we had a better possibility of satisfying. What we found is if the weather is not good, and if you look at this is pre-COVID, if you look at when it's 50 degrees and when it's raining, our people are not coming out. I mean, that's actually what the data shows us. So that is why we went to medium, and that is also why we went to a season, so that we would have a better opportunity to satisfy that. So let me say this: we've had no problem with the county accepting our being in the medium category. No problem at all. We've had no problem with the county in making our match, because there's a strategy to this. We already have $25,000 from the state of Florida because we write a grant, all right? We get typically $37,500 from the University of Central Florida because they are major supporters. So there's a way for us to meet our match. And previously, in fact, because of the Eatonville Community Redevelopment, in other words, we were able to make the medium match without any problem because the cash is there. It is really a formula.
What is the anticipated budget that you think you're going to have for the 2023?
2024. We're working with 2024.
Year.
We will be done, we have to be done by June 15. In other words, internally, we'll know where we are and if we have to scramble.
So you don't know the actual amount right now it's going to cost to put on the festival?
No. I'm sorry. I'm talking about the application.
Okay.
All right. I can say to you there's plan A and plan B. If we don't have a major name act, then we will be doing basically what we did this year. And we do have that. We actually know what those figures are. If we have a major act, then that budget, we have a model when we had Frankie Beverly. In other words, we bring someone like that, and those of you who remember when we bought Frankie Beverly, we had, people out of the wazoo. So it really depends on whether we do A or B. So we've been doing it so long, we have a template basically that we know what we're looking at.
Okay, also, as far as the town of Eatonville, you had mentioned about economic development. So what other economic developments that has been brought to the town from the Zora Festival?
I would say respectfully, Director Randolph, that the town of Eatonville and PEC have underperformed in terms of how to really leverage the Zora brand. There's just no doubt about it. We don't have the ability as a private nonprofit to do what really could happen for the ECRA. But I can tell you that as early as in the mid-90s, people had said that what Zora Festival has done is give Eatonville a brand. I think that any of you who have traveled outside of Eatonville, outside of the state of Florida, if you say the Zora Festival, they know it's Eatonville. And in fact, people say this is Eatonville's festival. They don't acknowledge Preserve Eatonville Community as the presenter. This is Eatonville's festival. So I would say to you that we need to really get our house in order so that we can leverage this brand, because the brand is definitely there.
Okay, and also I want to ask, how many years has PEC been funded by the town? Either the town or either the CRA?
Actually,
combined.
Yeah, actually, the town of Eatonville, typically let's go back 3 administrations. Let's go back during the Grant administration. The Grant administration was very good about getting a couple of tables when we had our banquet. That really, we have really basically paid our way. And we really didn't start the organization to ask the town of Eatonville for money, because we know the town of Eatonville doesn't have any money, all right? So we started our organization to help the town. Now, 2 years ago, maybe we've gotten two funding cycles from ECRA. And so based on what is the mission of the ECRA, we did get $25,000 2 times.
Okay, was the Zora Festival profitable this year? Did you all make any money this year?
No, but we came very close. We didn't lose nearly as much money as we've lost in the past.
They kind of broke even?
We are, at this point, we are 5,000 to the negative. 5,000 to the negative.
All right, well, I will be requesting the annual report for the last 3 years. I'll be making that request to PEC. Hopefully I can get that information.
Oh, yes, ma'am. Let me tell you where you can get it. Don't even ask from us. Ask for the United Arts of Central Florida, because this is all public record. Ask United Arts of Central Florida. It's Trudy, Trudy, at unitedarts.cc. Trudy at unitedarts.cc, and she can get those records for you.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Just a couple for you, Mr. Theory. And this is just because I'm so green in this area. Can you tell me if the association is able to manage or perform a festival without that county match? Has it, I mean, I know COVID and, the last couple cycles, et cetera, but at any point in the history of the festival, have you all been able to host the festival without that county match?
We've never been put to that. We've never been put to that test. Now, what we did for 2 years with COVID, we didn't have the outdoor festival. We did basically a virtual festival. And what we have found, to your question, questioning Director Randolph, we actually could do the festival, because the festival is not just the outdoor festival. We have very strong support in terms of the humanities part, and when we don't do the outdoor festival, we could easily make money, or at least break even, because we have the support of the University of Central Florida, from Rollins, from Valencia. I mean, that is the humanities part, okay? But when you do the outdoor festival, you've got the fencing, you've got the police, you've got the portalettes, you've got the this, you've got all of that infrastructure. And so, no, it would not be possible for us to do the outdoor festival without the support of Orange County, not in the near future.
Okay. In addition to that, can you tell me what penalties would apply if the attendance requirement was not met? Can you explain that?
We've actually never had to address that because we've been in the same situation as everybody else. In other words, when you look at COVID, all right, so let's go back to the last time we had a huge crowd, and that was when Frankie Beverly was here. All right? I think that was when Frankie Beverly was here. Okay? And so we didn't have any, that was our 25th anniversary. I can't remember what year it was, but we didn't have to worry because we just had all those people. Then when you look at COVID, no, they always give you, and this is the wonderful thing about government applications, if you don't meet, then you're allowed to give an explanation. And if the explanation, stands up, then, so we've never had a penalty. Yeah. The challenge that PEC has is our financials. All right, we do, in other words, how we're able to live year round. But no, we enjoy a very good reputation. We turn in the reports, we turn them in on time, we turn them in complete.
Okay. My next question is, do you know what I know was last year the first year since the COVID shutdown? Okay, not including last year. Maybe considering this year, do we know roughly what the attendance was? I know it was nice and intimate this year.
No, we publish in terms of the whole festival about 8,500. The outdoor festival around 6,500 to 7,500 over the 3 days.
Okay. And then lastly, I had it written down. I might have skipped over it, or you might have answered it. No, actually, you answered all my questions. Thank you.
And
Ms. Barnes, an attorney. Forgive my memory, but giving to the PEC organization, but I don't remember voting for that. Is that something that we will have to vote on? In the past, I'm sorry, I figured monies that's from this board given, we as a board would have to vote on that. Am I correct? I don't remember voting for the money, 25,000. I remember seeing it, but I don't remember voting. Is it possible, Ms. Barnes, I can get that paperwork?
Yes, I will have that. I will look back on the agenda packet.
All right.
And get you that paperwork.
Yeah, because I don't remember. Just forgive my memory, but you can, and that's all I have. Thank you.
And in fact, Director, you all did not vote for the 25,000 because we didn't get it this year. I'm making reference to 2 years prior to this year. For 2023, we got no.
Could I get that then? Yes.
Okay, that's what I thought you were referring to. I didn't know.
Right. I'm saying when she got the 25,000, I was asking for that because I don't remember.
Okay.
Thank you.
I think it was 12.5 and 12.5.
Yes, maybe that's it. So I stand corrected.
I remember that vote.
It came to the board?
In like 2020, because I had just gotten on the board, and it came, but it didn't come in the form of giving money, matching funds. It came in the form of
contracted services.
yes, yes.
So it was 12.5 and 12.5. Thank you, ma'am.
Yes, Ms. Barnes, if I can get that. Thanks.
I did something that you did not mention that I really thought was the highlight of Zora's great, but I really thought it was also nice that we do that in coordination with the World Conference of Mayors and the Historic Black Towns and Settlement Alliance, who usually do all their meetings and all that in Orlando, but are bringing that to the town. So even if we can And what that means is that the churches are gonna get some of that money that they spend at the hotels to rent out and for their conference space, that if we can handle it here, then those funds are coming into the town. And that would be one of the larger benefits moving into the next Zora season.
Thank you, Madam. You are the mayor, or are you the director? Chair. Yeah. So yes, I do need to say to you that for the 24th, for 2024, and this is really the vision of Mayor Johnny Ford, who is the founder general of the World Conference of Mayors. And so what he has proposed is the only thing that the conference will do is sleep in Orlando. He wants to see everything happen in Eatonville, and I can tell you that we've already started meetings to do that, and I can also tell you that it's entirely possible to do that, because if they have a maximum of 225 people, and I think that they will be right around 200. I can speak with experience on this because for years our organization used to send a delegation to the National Trust for Historic Preservation conferences around the country, and what they did was to use the faith community, the civic spaces for all of their programming, and they had literally 2,500 to 3,000 conferees. So in Eatonville, we actually can do that. And so what that does mean is exactly what the chairwoman said, that the dollars that would be spent for the meals and the rooms in Orlando, for the visioning of Mayor Ford, we will actually be bringing all of that to the people in Eatonville, right? That's not the PEC, that is to Macedonia, that is to the St. Lawrence AME Church, that is to the Life Center Church, because that's where the facilities are, right? Our next, since we're talking about this, the other thing is this. Now, the Life Center Church has been very strategic from the very beginning. They have used their parking space. They get $5 or $10, whatever that amount is. They are the group that has really understood how to get something from festival in their hand, right? There are two other ways, however, and these are not for next year, but this is really, for example, if there was an interest. Some years ago, we went to San Antonio. San Antonio has something called the Fiesta, and what they do is all over the community, there are the neighborhoods support programming, and that is a fundraiser. In Eatonville, if we got ourselves organized, you could literally, because we have Catalina Park, we have Lake Lovely, we have, what is the other here in Bel Air? In other words, we have four neighborhoods. We could, let's say in the next 3 years, see how to move to have our neighborhoods be a part of the outdoor festival, so that when people came, they would, in other words, like at Catalina, you have that park there, or at Denton Johnson. In other words, there really are ways to engage the town, the citizens of Eatonville, right? But it's a 7P principle: proper planning prevents bad performance. And so that's why we're talking, for example, about 2024. Now, and I hope that you all really seriously consider doing that, because it's our perspective that anything that Eatonville does needs to be worthy of national attention, because Eatonville has a national persona. That is actually the case. Eatonville has a national persona.
A couple questions. couple reasons why the county get involved with the PDC or the Zora Festival, because heads and badge. And that's why they give money to this festival.
That's right.
And I think that we should be able to partner to do the same, give funding to anything that brings to our community. It doesn't matter who it is, what it is. If you bring people to your community, we should be a partner of it, whatever the amount is. So we definitely look at putting money in the budget to help any person or nonprofit or to do something in our town. Because once you bring people here, they know. There's some people who never been to Eatonville that was at the festival this year. Never been here. And it's amazing how people never been to Eatonville. So as we do these festivals, you always add 1 or 2 people that never been here or more, but the ones I talked to, never been here. So this is our overall town Eatonville, not me or nobody else. It's for the town.
Yeah.
So it's good that you bring people here, and that's what CRA is supposed to do. We're supposed to still bring people to this community.
There are 2 things I'd like to add to that. First of all, if you and this is information we'll be glad to share in terms of year-round visitorship. All right, that little space, that little Zora Neale Hurston gallery, that is probably, if you look from that lamp on the wall to right where I am, that's how big it is. Do you know that people, I hadn't worked in that space. Actually worked in the space. I just saw on paper. Okay? People love Eatonville. Okay? I just need to tell you straight out. Now, they come here and they are looking, all right? And that's just the case. There's no other way around it. And then the other thing is this. In terms of the mainstream, what you're saying, Director Washington, this is the deal. This is the way it's supposed to run. When you do not support what is already established and well respected around the country, okay? Now, I do know, and I will say this because I'm my mother's daughter, I know that there are some people that really cannot stand me. Absolutely. But I also know there are lots of people who really push for what we are doing. So you're absolutely right. In the mainstream, that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to collaborate. And if we are not pilfering any money, if our reports are good, then you know what? You're supposed to stand up and salute. Why? Because we are pushing the town. That's what you're supposed to do. That's what you're supposed to do.
Then my other question is that there have been other groups in our city back in the days that could be doing the same thing today. In other cities, they still ride those old groups. They're still doing events. And that's what we need to do, because a lot of people copy us, what we do in Eatonville, from parades to your festivals. They copy us. People don't know that. Why our parade went down? No, our parade should be the best one in Central Florida. A Pop wasn't doing no MK parade. Self was doing the MK parade. Orlando and Eatonville was that in my days. Now everybody doing it because they seen town Eatonville. And with the festival, I go out of the state, people say, Eatonville. No, that's not our event. That's somebody else's event. Or when it was not good. That was good this year. I get the negative. Oh, that's not our event. If it's good or bad, it's not our event. So, of course, when you get big names to your event, like the Tom Joyner, that was a big year. When he was on Good Morning America, that was a good year. It's been good years. Of course, everything will be good every year because the weather, the COVID, we lost hundreds of thousands of people. But you still going. Make a little bit helps. And when it was small, people still never been Eatonville that came to the small that I've talked to. So just keep doing what you're doing, and we hope that you get other festivals in the town of Eatonville, not just this one. And that's what we need to be known for. I get so hot with a pop was talking with Mayor Nelson over there. I'm like, man, you're killing us with this amphitheater. Because people come to your community every week, almost every weekend. And I told him, I said, hey, at conferences we be at, I said, I'm coming to get you. You know, I tell him that. I'm trying to get everything to Edenville so we compete with you. To bring people here. But they won't let us use that facility back in the day when it was another mayor. You gotta understand that too. We just start using that facility. So that's another thing people don't know. So we need to put something here so we can thing here that we could get these crowds, these thousands of people that go over there. So we got a lot of work to do. We need to be a partner. Anything that somebody want to do, you can do. Anything. So that's all I have at this moment.
All right, I just got two more things. I just want to bring to your attention. You stated 8,500 people over the 3 days. I do crowd estimation, and I was there for 3 days. I didn't really see those numbers. And also, I just want to bring to your attention internal issue that's been addressed that was discussed among the public. For some reason, individuals were accepting funds, cash money. A lot of the people that came that had a card, they didn't have cash or something, but they had to say, no, they needed to have cash to come in, or something, I don't know, some kind of mix-up or whatever at the thing there. But the employees who were hired were only accepting cash. I found that to be a little odd at that particular moment, because some people got turned away. I just want you to look into that for the next year, for the accountability, because when people are giving their funds and their money, they want more accountability, even for the people who's coming. So I just want to bring that matter to your attention. I don't know why it was set up that way, but
I can tell you that we have already addressed that. We're not, in other words, becoming cashless. We're doing Square or something like that. Even though there is, ticket or money. No, that's how it's ticket or money, and we do get audited. We get audited every year. In other words, as I say, we're good on that. I do want to go back because there's so much to talk about, but I do want to say this: barring breaking news, Edenville will be on CBS Sunday morning this Sunday, the 19th. Barring break, just so that Edenville will be on national broadcast news. Okay? And I don't know how they're going to handle this, but I can tell you that you know about investment, you know about business. They came here during festival, and I need to make sure. I wasn't saying that the outdoor festival had 8,500. I was talking about, we do a whole month of programming, so that the numbers don't just reflect. You're right. There weren't 8,500 people out here at festival at the outdoor, but for the entire event, things that many of you aren't aware of. So this is my point. They sent a crew here. See, I want to make sure that you're clear, that we're very clear. No matter what, the Zora Festival is nationally known, and Eatonville is nationally known. That's who we are. Now, all this other stuff, fine, but that's who we are as a town. So when the CBS Sunday morning crew, I'm not talking about cable, I'm talking about broadcast network, sends a crew here at festival time, they did that. But then they brought another crew back and they were here for a whole week. You do not, in terms of business, come on now, let's be real. A corporation does not spend a week's amount of time with a crew and all of that. It's a national story. It is a national story. Now, hey, that's what it is. That's what it is. And that's what Eatonville is.
Let's Ms. Inwan, The United Arts, is that a nonprofit organization?
It is, yes, it's a private nonprofit.
So they have your report there?
Yes, because they are the administrators for the county's grant.
So I can't get a report from your office?
It'll be simpler for you. It'll be simpler for you to get it from them because please get it from them. It's a part of the public record.
All right.
Yeah.
If I have some problems, then I would.
Oh, no. As a matter of fact, I will send an email out to.
I would respect as a council person for the town of Eatonville that I can get a report from my nonprofit from the town of Eatonville. It looks to be a little disrespectful for me to go to another agency to get a report, but I can just get it from your office.
It's not the same. Director, what I'm saying to you is, and I will send out an email tonight to you and to Trudy Wild because you'll get it quicker. I mean, we're a little staff. Tomorrow, I can't get it to you as fast as she can.
I'm not asking you fast. I'm asking you for the report. I think as an official of the town, I should be able to get that information from a nonprofit who is seeking funds for the festival.
I will do that.
Okay, thank you.
Give me the week's amount of time.
Yes,
all right,
ma'am.
because when you ask me something, I like to try to do it immediately.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Miss, one more thing. I know you said you didn't put an amount, but what amount were you?
It would be very good if you would at least do the precedent of the 25,000.
So you were asking for 20,
Yeah.
keep matching the 25,000.
Mm-hmm.
Only 25,000.
Are we allowed to say?
Wait,
I have one more question for you. I remember what I was going to ask. So I know you mentioned turning the Zora into a seasonal opportunity versus just the month of January, and it scheduled to include potentially like the Founders Day celebration. Does that include all the events that go on in January as well? Like, is that
Yes.
how you compile those
That's right.
attendance
That's
requirements?
exactly right. And
Okay.
not only is it that, but January, for example, here in the month of March, we will do, at the end of March, we will do the 4th annual Africa America Women's Economic Forum. That will be a part, and then we do the Hatitude Cultural Flair.
but not Founders Day.
No, because,
You can
Okay.
just
no,
per
that,
activities.
Okay.
That would
no,
be
I saw
if-
that sneak
yeah.
in there, and so I imagine that it might be easier to meet that threshold, that
Yes.
minimum threshold, if it is seasonal because you have multiple events.
And that's
where
exactly-
you can
and that's how we
combine
did that.
those. Okay. Okay.
And I want to just say, because I appreciate Director Randolph saying only 25, it just depends on the act. If we can, and this is not from the town of Eatonville, I'm just talking about if we get good coverage and if we can get a sponsor, because we cannot bring a large sponsor, we can't make a big act without a corporate sponsor, okay? So I just, because we're on the record, in other words, if we get a corporate sponsor, then we will be asking the county, and we will know that in time to make this. So if we were to get, say, an Angie Stone or what is this other man's name, Brian McKnight, if we were to get someone like that, then we would be asking for large money because we can meet the attendance. That's how it goes.
All right,
Okay.
if that's it, thank you. The next item is neighborhood stabilization, but. Yep. All right, so that's the last item. Also, you need to hear from us by June, correct?
Yes, by June 15th, please, because we don't have to have the money, but we have to have a written pledge of it.
Okay, and this goes back to Ms. Cummings. If you don't mind, if maybe discuss it in April, because at the beginning is the public participation.
Okay, that's fine.
Because we would not have made a decision, probably, we won't make a decision at least till May, so we can discuss then. That's okay.
Okay.
All right, staff reports. Yeah.
Good evening, Board. I only have a couple of things. One, I am working on the annual report for this year. So you will have that for the next meeting next month. Also, it is budget season, which is one of the reasons why I told Ms. NY she should come early so we can start putting the budget together as early as possible. I know I have heard from Chair Gardner about some initiatives that she wants. Chair Washington has told me about some initiatives that he would like to see. Director Randolph has also visited me on occasions and told me about some things that she wants to see. So I'm inviting the other directors to come and have a discussion so we can get this flight plan together for the CRA. So that is all I have for the staff report today.
All right, Attorney Jackson, you have anything to?
Yes, thank you and good evening. Just wanted to put into the board's thought process that at some point in time, if I could get some direction as to how you would like to proceed with the Dixon property. I have had a chance to speak to Mr. Perry, the CAO, as well as to Ms. Bonds about some of the procedural aspects of how to deal with the individuals or the occupants in the home right now. But for the purposes of dealing with it on a long-term basis, just wanted to put into this board's mind once again, and I just want to get some direction from you all.
No report. Thank you.
Director Washington.
I have nothing. No worries.
Director Randolph.
Where are we with the investigation?
The investigation in terms of, I'm sorry?
The CRA investigation?
So it has been left to the board to determine who it is that they would like to proceed as the special counsel.
And then how is that done?
So once the board makes that determination, because remember I was taking a step back so that I wouldn't have any influence on that, then the next process would be to allow Ms. Bonds to contact the law firm or law firms to ask for the RFP. That's what the language is for, in order to get someone on board to do or to commence the special investigation.
Ms. Bonds, have you done that?
I have not. I know that there was some, in the last meeting, there was some language in the RFP that needed to be changed. So I'll get with Attorney Jackson and we'll go over that so we can get that RFP out.
You know, we need to move that forward because this has been lingering too long. Okay, I just want to mention, I saw here on the agenda about the stabilization. So we're not going to discuss that, or do we have to? But if not, I just wanted to make sure that also, when I read this, we do have a couple of agencies here in Eatonville that has the same exact program. One of them here that I brought forward is from the HELP. They're located here in Eatonville at the Life Center. They've been here for a long time. They're a nonprofit. They do have grant monies to help with the stabilization of homes, people losing their homes, foreclosure, those type of things. And also, I forgot until Mrs. Barnes brought to my attention that we also have another agency here from Orange County. It's the Orange County Neighborhood Center next door. So we can, I'll be going over there to get some information from them so that way we can make sure that the people are disseminated this information. And then you'll have that information also available at the CRA office. Yes. So people can come in and inquire about it, etc. So I don't think we have to reinvent the wheel, but it's just because the wheel is already turning, it's already in place, so we don't have to go out and duplicate something that's already existing. Two agencies are doing the same thing.
Vice Chair.
Thank you.
Welcome everybody. Thanks for coming. Couple of things. Yes, Attorney, I thought we gave you directions to go ahead, maybe not, so Ms. Bonds can get whatever necessary agency in place so that we can move forward with the investigation. As far as the Tommy Dixon property goes, I've always been a stickler of giving, or find a way that we can do it by law, give that property back. That young man was taken advantage of, and I will keep saying that until I leave here, that I think that that whole process was done wrong. Although we say it was good intentions, but I think that if it was, then we will be able to give that back to him and satisfy the family on what Mr. Dixon stood for. And I wish Ms. NY hadn't left out, because I wanted to say that I will be getting with Mr. President Chad McKendry, because he and I are very good friends. I hear heads and bears, but if the heads and bears are not hearing either, I would like to know, how we're to make money. There are times where PDC had gotten every vendor tent for $1. I don't know, y'all can just do your investigation. $1 that the town gave back for every tent. Now that was back in the heyday when food vendors was $2,500, maybe $3,500, on down the clothes and everything. They got it for $1. So they can't say that we haven't given back. If we're not putting heads and beds in the town of Eatonville or showing a way that we can partner, because if Ms. NYC, she would say, I've been on the Zoom calls to say, hey, let's partner, because I do believe in partnership, but I also believe in a fair partnership that will take care of financially helping the town of Eatonville, not just one-sided. So I am in for collaborations with PDC, but if it's going to help both sides. So I'd like to thank everybody for coming, and have a great night.
All right, good evening. I'll make this real quick. I know that you say that I have spoken with you a couple of things. I know the ring cameras, but to expand that to a system. And also one of the things I would like for the CRA to even consider, in addition to the ring, is that sometimes when homes go up for sale, we don't even know there was a sale, because it's swept from under the town, and we're not ready. So a home goes up for sale, and we might have someone's child trying to save up for a home goes up for sale, they're not ready to get approval, that home goes, and now the price has doubled. Well, not doubled, but you know what I mean. So it would be nice if, since our funds are growing, and even though we do need to protect some of those funds for the reimbursement grants, that we look at, there are a couple of things. We have the affordable housing linkage fee. That affordable housing linkage fee was established through the CRA, but it's on the town side, and it's waiting for policies and procedures on how to distribute those funds. That's going to be very important when those developments are finished, because there's a linkage fee that they have to pay, 50 cents per square foot. Once that money is placed into the account, that could possibly be, depending on how the policy is written and approved, that could possibly be down payment assistance or rehab. And if we put that with taking a chunk of funds from the CRA to maybe purchase that home, and it goes on, negotiate, purchase the property, so that it'll give some time for someone to get ready, so that we can just even start a pipeline of people that are attached to this town in one way or another, that are trying, but just need a little bit more time. Then maybe with the down payment assistance, the negotiated sales price, we can help them meet at a point that they can afford the house. The down payment assistance part will just be just like any other programs, like in Orange County, they give you the down payment assistance. It sits there unless you sell the property, but it covers that margin from what they can afford to what the sales price is. How exactly that will look, but then they still would have to get approval for the property, and then a portion of that money is going to come right back to the CRA. We're not going to lose it except for the down payment, but that's to help the citizens as well. Anyway, if I explained that clear enough, but that's one way that we can at least give them time, because right now when you have investors filled with cash, it's no competition. You just can't, But other than that, in regards to that property, laws cover that. So I would just, and I've spoken with Attorney Shepherd, he needs to be involved in that. I mean, laws cover that. It's not anything that this board can say or do without without the law, the statutes governing the property. With that being said, I have nothing else. I move for adjournment.
Move second.
Moved in second, all in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? It is 7:35.
Ugh.